الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Inshallah, tonight's lesson, التفضيل. التفضيل is also known as called superlative. Bigger, better, older, biggest. التفضيل, or we could say اسماء التفضيل. So inshallah, tonight we will go over التفضيل. From last weekend class, related to related to Asma' Ishara, inshallah. For any previous lesson or the past lesson, do anybody have any questions before we start this specific lesson tonight? طيب. التفضيل means preference to something in terms of English grammar. التفضيل means degree of the adjective, the comparative, or the superlative. For anybody who's not familiar with that in the English language, in English grammar, I would advise you to look up online what is superlative and comparative in the English language. The basic form of ism tafdil using the pattern fa, ayn, lam, af'alu. For example, the word hasanun, which means good, and the superlative of it is ahsanu. The tafdil of hasanun is ahsanu. So you can see here that is added to the beginning of the letter alif and is ending with adamma. Ahsanu. Jamilun, which means beautiful. Ajmalu, more beautiful. Kabirun, big. Akbaru, bigger. Or biggest. It's the comparative and the superlative. Dhakiyun, intelligent. Atqa, more intelligent. Tawilun, tall. Atwalu, taller or tallest. For example, I can say in Arabic language, Muhammad atwal min ana. Muhammad is taller than I. The comparative degree of adjectives in the form adding alif in the word or the last letter ending in dhamma, af'alu, is used with the prepositions men. So the comparative degree, the adjective af'alu, is used with the preposition afrujar, men. Anna akbaru min Muhammad. I am older than Muhammad. Anna akbaru min Muhammadin. I am older than Muhammad. For all the number and gender. For example, Zaydun ahsanu min Bakarin. Zayd is better than Bakr. Zaynabu ajmalu min Hind. Zainab is more beautiful than Hind. Zaydun akbaru min Bayti Kabir. I'm sorry. Baytu Zaydin akbaru min Bayti Bakrin. The house of Zayd is bigger than the house of Bakr. And the other example, the book is so fuzzy on that last page. Give me a second so I can look at my actual book. Okay, I think that's saying Tramid. Tramidatu al-madrasati athqa min tramidi madrasa. The girls students of the school are more intelligent than the boy students of the school. Umaru atwalu min Aliyin. Umar is taller than Ali. It's saying here, preference of the mudaf. Preference is the mudaf, and to which is the preference of mudafu ilayhi. In the example, Zainab or Zaydun, Zainabu, Baytu Zaydin, wa Tramidatu al-madrasati, and Umar are mufaddal, mudaf or mufaddal. Bakr, Hind, Bakrin, Hindin, Bakrin, Baytu Bakrin, sorry, and Ali are the mudafu ilayhi. The superlative degree of adjective relations between mudafu and mudafu ilayhi is similar to the relation between al-mudaf and mudafu ilayhi. And mudafu ilayhi is present. The superlative degree of the adjective mudafu ilayhi is always jam'u or mufrad. Zainab or Zayd, Zayd aksanu ar-rijali. Zayd is the best of the men. If the mudaf ilayhi must not be the mudaf ilayhi be not present, then alif lam is present. To the ismu tafdil, for example, Zaydun al-ahsanu. All right. So if you don't have the comparison, it's saying that you put alif lam in front of it. All right. But that's not 100% done all the time. For example, Allahu Akbar. We don't say Allahu al-Akbar. We don't say that in Arabic. Allahu Akbar. Zayd is the best. So that rule right there could be changed and it says Zaydu al-Aqsanu. We must add alif lam to the prefix. And that could be different opinions or by choice. Here it's talking about na ismu tafdil. You have on the right, going up and down, mudhakkar, masculine, bottom, mu'annith. So the mudhakkar, for the mafrad, singular, afdalu. For the dual, af'alani. In the case of majrur, af'alaini. For the plural, af'aluna. And for the majrur or the mansub case, af'alina. I'll be very honest. These examples here that you're seeing written here, they're not too common, but it does exist. For example, the mu'annaf is fu'ala, right? Fu'ala. And we have this example, for example, asma'u al-husna. Al-asma'u al-husna. Al-asma'u al-husna. Right? Al-husna is the feminine form, which means Allah has the best of names. Asma'u al-husna. So this pattern from the mu'annaf is used for the dual, for layani, in the case of marfu', in the case of mansub or majrur, for alayni, for alayin, right? For layni, for layni, I believe the proper way to be pronounced. For layni. For the jam'u, for layatun, for layatin. For the mudhanna, for the case of the mudhanna, for the case of majrur, I believe is for layani, for layani. So an example, Zainab has husna an-nisa'i. And this is the example of using the feminine form. Zainabu husna an-nisa'i. Zainab is the best woman. Zainab is the what? Best woman. Was Zainab al-husna, and for example, Zainab is the best. Wahuma ahsana ar-rijal. These two men, these two are the best of the men. Right? And you notice here, they're using the dual. Right? The dual. The dual. How we know it's dual? It is dual and is also mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. And you can see here, and the husnan, it should be husnani. The noon is deleted here because in the case of mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Don't let these examples I'm giving you stress you out, because you won't see them a lot being used like this. All right? But they do exist. They are the two best of men. Hum as-sanu. They are the best. Hum as-sanu. They are the best. Hum as-sanu. They are the best. You know, here the noon is deleted. Hum as-sanu ar-rijal. They are the best of men. The noon is deleted. Hum as-sanu ar-rijal. They are the best men. And this is not commonly used a lot in Arabic, but it does exist, especially reading classical things and seeing Arabic used on a high state or in the proper way. Hum as-sanu ar-rijali. They are the best of men, with the noon deleted, as-sanu. Right? And you see this in Quran and things like this. Zaydun وزينب أحسن الأشخاص. زينب زيد وزينب أحسن الأشخاص. Here the noon is deleted in أحسناني. Why? Because it's مضاف ومضاف إليه. زيد وزينب هما الأحسنان. Here they kept the noon on top of أحسناني, dual, for the superlative or the comparative. We find an exception to the rule. Here we go. Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. The word Akbar is superlative without the degree of kabir, without mudaf or mudaf ilayhi or the prefix alif lam. Some of the opinions that min kullu shay'in is omitted. According to Allahu al-Akbar stands for Allahu Akbar min kullu shay'in. Allah is greater than all things, meaning in the ma'ana and meaning. So when we second or the third radical of the adjective are the same, they are written with a tashdid, right? And the root letter of shadid, or the shadda, or the measurement, meaning the meaning of it is stronger. Ismu at-tafdil. Ismu at-tafdil. For example, we have a few words. Shadidun, or the word, or ashdadun, but it is ashaddu. We have aqallu, lesser than, means qalil. It's from qalil, the verb, the adjective qalil. Aqallu, shadidun, or ashdadu, right? Or ashaddu. Ashaddu is the tafdeel. Ashaddu. Ladidun, for example, addu, aladdu, ladidu, aladdu, right? Aladdu should have a fatha written on it. Aladdu. For the word ladid, ladid means good. Now there's two more words coming up. The word khair and shar. The word khair and shar. These words, in the case of tafdil, you don't add no alif. It doesn't change. So, for example, the word khairun and sharun, good and bad, are used in the case of ismu tafdil, means better or worse, or best and worse, or worst. For example, zaydun khairun. Nothing changed. It even has tanween. Jaydu khayrun min bakrin. Zayd is better than bakr. Zaydun khayru rijal. Zayd is the best of men. Zayd is the best of men. Khayru, when I see that written like that, Zaydu khayrun rijal. Zayd is the what? I see with the khay with dhamma, I know it is ismu tafdil. Another example. Zaydun sharru min baqaran. Zayd is evil, more wicked than Bakr, or worse than Bakr. Zaydun sharru an-nas. Zayd is the worst person. So this difference. For example, Zaydun sharru min baqaran. This is comparative. This is an example of comparative, because you're comparing that thing to something else. In this case, it is comparative. And we notice in the case of comparative that the word shar is sharrun. It has the tanween written on it. In the case of superlative, then you notice, for example, Zaydun sharrun nas. Zaydun sharrun nas. There's no tanween on the word shar because this is the case of a tafdeel, the superlative. Zayd is the worst of the men. Right? Let's go over that again, inshallah. We go over between from the paragraph beginning talking about khayr and shar. In the case of tafdil, what is called of tafdil al-muqarran. Tafdil al-qarran, I believe. When you making the comparison. Qarran means to compare or comparison and putting two things together. Right? The comparison. So in the case of comparison, meaning, for example, Zaydun khayrun min baqarin. The word khayr, in the case of comparative, comparing it to something else, the tanween stays. Zaydun khayrun min baqarin. And you add within it men. Every time you use comparative with ismu tafdil, you always use men. Men, the word men from, men, the harfu jar, because you're comparing it to something else. So you use the preposition men. Zaydu khayrun min baqran. In the case of the superlative, Zaydun khayru rijal. Zayd is the best of men. Zaydu khayru rijal. Zayd is the best of men. Right? I'm not making no comparison. I'm making the superlative. And you notice here, I do not use preposition men. And the word khayr, the superlative, it only has one mark. And the thing that I'm comparing it with, you notice that it has what? Alif lam written on the noun. Zaydun khayru rijal. Zayd is the best of men. And now next example, Zaydun sharrun min baqaran. This is the comparative. How I know it's the comparative? Because the word tafdil here, the comparative here is the word sharrun. It keeps its tanween. And it used in men. So the word khayr and shar, these two words, you do not add anything to it from the alif. As we see in the other example. Aksanu. Aksanu. For example, Umaru atwalu min aliyin. Umar is taller than Ali. This is the case of comparative. And it says use the rule like mudafu mudafilehi. I like it, similar to it. But in reality, atwal min aliyin. Atwal is a tafdil. Men is using when you're going to compare to something else, and we know that what follows with the rule with harfu jar, that the ism ba'du al harfu jar ba'duha fi mahal al jar الكلمات بعد حرف الجر وما أطوال من علي. This is the comparison. زيد أحسن رجال. أحسن رجال. So this particular lesson is very simple, forward, straight to the point. Now I want to go to the time of asking any questions about Ismu Tafdil. Anybody have any questions? No questions. Are there any other questions about anything else? Because I believe Ismu Tafdil is the simplest thing. Don't worry about Mudaf or Mudaf Ilayhi related to this. Don't worry about it. Empty it out. Don't worry about it. I know the way he was wording. I understand what he meant. If you don't understand what he meant, it's not important because I gave you the pattern. The pattern here is understood. When you want to use the comparison, Ismu Tafdil in the comparison, I believe it's called Ismu al-Qarran, the comparison between you, a thing, and something else, a thing and something else. You must use men. You must use men. For example, Ana akbar min Khalid. I am older than Khalid, for example. In the book, let's go back to the book. Get into the book. Zayd Asanu min Baqaran. Zaydun Asanu min Baqaran. For example, when we use the comparison, you use the preposition min. Whatever comes after min is going to be kasra or kasratan. And it can set a mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Related to the name Baqarah, we don't add alif lam on the names Baqarah, right? We don't add that. So let's use another example. The other example is underneath. Tirmidu or Tirmidatu, the girls. Tirmidatu al-madrasati adqa min Tirmidati al-madrasati. The girls, students, or associates, the girls, students, the schools, female students or girl students are smarter than the boys students. All right. In the case here, there is mudaf here. Talmidu, the students of the school. That's the case of mudaf. Don't worry about that. Very simple. Min talmidi. Here's a comparison now. The comparison of the tafdil. Men talmidi. Why talmidi ended in kasra? Because of arfu jar. Why only has one kasra? Because it's the mudaf. It is the mudaf. Talmidi al-madrasa ti. That's talmid is the first part of the idafa, and madrasa is the second part of the mudaf. That's the only thing they're talking about. Do not let anything hard. Do not let anything confuse you. Do not let them confuse you. All the previous lessons and the new lesson being introduced, everything's going to come in play. All the rules you're going to see be used in every new lesson is going to come. And this is why I keep on mentioning why you have to know the previous lessons well. What I explained from the lessons well. And then you go on the new lesson, you will see why. Because you're going to bring things from the old lesson to the new lesson, and the new lesson is going to teach you a new rule. All right? So when we talk about mudaf here, it's giving you examples within the examples of Ismu Tafdil. They're throwing some examples within the comparison or some words that are mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. That's it. That's all. It's simple. Do not make nothing hard. Do not make nothing hard. Every example of ismu tafdil is mudaf and mudaf ilayhi? No, it's not. No, it is not. For example, I gave the example here. Zaydun al-ahsanu. Zayd is the best. It's the superlative. Right? Because you're not comparing him to nothing else. Zaydu al-ahsanu. Only thing we learn this part of this part of Ismu Tafdil is that the second part, the thing that's being compared, or the thing that's the superlative being used, which is a noun, which is an adjective, right? You, in this case, you add alif lam. That's all I was talking about in this example. There's nothing hard. And it gives you the patterns here. Af'alun. That's kind of wrong. I'm reading this book as af'alu. It's a typo in this one of these books we having typos and stuff. It's af'alu. In the chart. Muhammad akbaru. Allahu akbaru. For example. Any more questions, inshallah, Aliyah? Any questions? So now, Aliyah, explain to me Ismu Tafdil and give me a brief example. Type it out. Explain to me a little bit about Ismu Tafdil and type it out and explain it to me. Right now, you're going to be the teacher. Type it out in Arabic. Give me one simple example using 2 words. Look in the book where we just came out of. Give me some of the first examples where they gave you when they were explaining the rule. Type it out, 1 or 2 words from the examples, and then you explain it to me. Comparison and superlative. That's the only 2 words you need in English. When I started studying Arabic language, I was weak in English grammar. And I had to take a job in Egypt teaching English, so I had to review my English grammar. And I said, oh man, Arabic grammar helps me understand English grammar. What is the comparison in the superlative? Before I studied Arabic language, somebody was going to ask me some questions about English grammar, some real simple things. What is the difference between superlative and comparative? I wouldn't be able to tell you. Most Americans will be able to tell you about English grammar. Don't worry about the English grammar. Just tell me what it means. Write out the example. They give you the examples. When they explain in the book here, write out an example in Arabic. Then you explain it to me in writing. The rule. Because over the computer, I cannot tell if you understand. When somebody's face-to-face, front to front, teaching, you can tell student understand or not, write examples. The only way I can understand or confirm how I explain this particular lesson is by asking you to explain it to me in writing. using the Arabic examples they gave you already inside the book on this particular lesson from the first examples they gave you. Good. Many is used from comparison. I really want to know about the formatting, the comparison. How you write out the adjective. How do you write it out? What you have to add. What's being added. All ismu tafdil are coming from a what? An adjective. What's the difference between an adjective and ismu tafdil? There's a pattern. What is write out the pattern? Now I understand that this is ismu tafdil and this is not a sifat. That's what I'm looking for first. Explain from A to Z in the order. You know how to write vowels? The vowels in Arabic. Well, you have to hold down the shift button and then use between Q, W, S, R, and T, and A, and S. If you have a copy or print it out, the Arabic keyboard, as I told you, how you click the vowels after you write the letter, you write the vowel, you hold shift, and where the keyboard shows you the vowel, you press that key. No. I want you to write example here. I want to see here. On your own doesn't confirm if you understand it. When you write it on your own, you cannot correct yourself. Af'alu. Give me another example using now the comparison. Using a comparison. Write out example they gave you using the comparison. Zaydun ahsanu min Bakri. They're everywhere right here in the lesson. Find the simplest one for you to write and write it out in Arabic. Let me see. I'm waiting for you. Yes, I'll wait for you. I'm not in a rush. Zainab ahsanu min Hindin. Zainabun ahsanu min Hindin. Good. Another one. I want you to write me in this one, matter of fact. Hold on. I know which one I want you to write. Zainab, okay, I want you to write me another one. 1 second. I tell you exactly what I want you to write. Using Alif Lam now. Zaydun al-ahsanu. I want you to write that down. Zaydun al-ahsanu. That's right before you get to the jadwal. What's the table or the example they're giving with the table in it, showing in the pattern. It's written down already in the book. Matter of fact, my pointer is on it. Zaydun al-ahsanu. My pointer is on it. Zaydun al-ahsanu. Write that down. I want you to type it right here. I want to see that. I want to see you type that. Because I got something for you. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to type it out. Gotta do some work. Gotta do some writing. Don't say you want to learn Arabic, but don't want to write Arabic. Huh? I write it out. Like somebody say they want to play football, but they don't want to roll around in the mud, in the field. Comes with the territory. Good. Zaydun al-ahsanu. Excellent. Now I want you to write my pointer is going to be on it. Zainabu husna an-nisa'i. Zainabu husna an-nisa'i. Zainabu husna an-nisa'i. Good. Now right next to it. Zainabu al-Husna. Zainabu Husna. Right next to it. I'll put my pointer on it. Zainabu al-Husna. Good. Now I want you to write something else. And then here we go. I want you to write Zaydun khayrun min baqaran. The pointer is on it. Zaydun khayrun min baqaran. I want you to write that down. Excellent. Right next to it. Zaydun khayru ar-rajali. Excellent. Now write out Zaydun sharru nisa. I'm sorry. Zaydun sharru an-nasi. I'm sorry. Don't write that one. No, la. Go back to this one. I wasn't watching. Zaydun sharru min baqarin. Zaydun sharru min baqarin. Write that one. I have the pointer on it. And the word rijal you spell wrong. Put an alif after the jim. Zaydun khayru rajul. Zaydun khayru rijal. رجال. Good. And the last one, زيد شر الناس. زيد شر الناس. Last one. Excellent. Go back. You've written something before. Zay Khayru Rajul is supposed to go back and auto edit your what you wrote. It should be Zaydun Khayru Rijali. But after Jim is Aleph. Correct that. It should be able to allow you to edit and add Aleph after Jim. Then I'm gonna give you assignments for homework after you correct that. I'm gonna tell you what the homework is after I see you correct it. If you didn't do it already, then refresh my thing. Oh no, don't reload. I'm bugging out. Let me tell you what your homework is gonna be. I want you to take all the words you just written for me and Ismu Tafdil. I want for your homework you to write the vowels in Arabic on the words. That is your homework. To write the ending vowels on the end of each word. The ending vowels. And the second part of your assignment would be to tell me what each sentence means. Each phrase means. Which each one of these phrases, what it means. And I want you to tell me if it's superlative or comparative. And what is the translation? What does it mean? Meaning translation. And you must write each vowel on the ending vowels on the word aliyah, and that will make you very proficient in understanding Ismu Tafdil. Let me know Tell me yes or no if you understand the assignment for you. And you could do that, and you could write it out in the notes on Facebook page. You can inbox it to me, or write it out, then inbox it to me, or email it to me. And this will help you and let me know how much of the lesson you understand and what you need help with. And if you need help with this particular lesson. And then it'll teach you how to write the keyboard, practicing writing the vowels. So let me know if you understand the assignment. Yes, and let me know if each phrase, if it's comparative or superlative. The next weekend, inshallah, we review again this particular lesson to make sure you understand from your assignment. And then I will introduce, inshallah, another lesson. So, inshallah, I will end out this video. I hope it was a benefit for those who are listening to it or following it. That is a benefit for them. I like to say, as a reminder, also related to this video, we'll make a reminder after this video. I'll make a new video and I'll talk about a reminder, inshallah. After this particular video is finished, I will make a second video and I will talk about a reminder related to the lessons in the coming lessons and the lessons we pass and finish, and about students and those who will come and go. Basically, students, those who come and go, inshallah. So I hope this is something that's beneficial, and I hope you, Sister Ali, you benefit from this. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفر الله وأتوب إليك.